a scientifically credible definition of God? Is there a scientifically credible way to define God? Let's explore what I call open pantheism. The definition unfolds in a way that, I believe, can satisfy our spiritual longings without offense to reason. First, let's cover the pantheistic aspect. We acknowledge that what we consider the universe is really quite super, and describe it, as it appears to us in cosmic terms, as the grand molecular structure of our natural supreme being, with the solar systems exhibiting a grand atomic structure and the galaxies a grand molecular one. Now, let's ask if the universe is alive. We know that, since we, other animals, and plants are part of it, it's as alive as the animate life within it. If a part is alive, then so must be the whole. What about the inanimate matter? Don't even the smallest subatomic particles vibrate and whirl? Have we been insensitive to what we consider their movement? And might we be more accurate to see what we call matter and energy as the substance and life of inanimate life, which provides a foundation for animate life and functions? When life-nourishing conditions exist as the wellspring of animate life, then we might say that the entire universe is alive, animately and inanimately, somewhat like flesh and bones. This appreciation provides a smooth transition from inanimate life to animate life. It also provides a solid foundation for the religious care of life. Since we regard the universe as our natural supreme being, we consider everything in it a sacred form of the life and substance of our natural God. Now let's turn to the open aspect of our definition. It addresses our infinite longings. Many wonder whether or not there is a creator or are creators beyond the universe, and long to have a relationship with what they consider such a god or gods. We leave the question of their existence open, because we do not think that, at our level of existence, we have the knowledge to attempt a decision, while we remain willing to accept whatever the answer might be, if and when we ever know it. Thankfully, as beings born to finitude, we do not need to know the answer to understand how we ought to live. Yet being open to the possibility of the existence of a god or gods beyond our experience also provides a foundation for the religious care of life. We can consider everything in the universe their sacred representative, and life itself their living one, right among us. Finally, for ease of expression, we include our natural supreme being and any god or gods who may be outside of our credible knowledge when we use the term creation, as in, since we are beings evolved and sustained by creation, we ought to have reverence for it and conduct our lives in ways that are worthy of it. I prefer the term creation because of its compass and its openness. Its very indefiniteness is, I think, consonant with our place in regard to matters finite and infinite. I also assume that it is, in Aristotle's words, its own first mover, since it encompasses an origin that may be naturally within itself, along with whatever origin may be beyond our experience. I believe a more definite answer is not only inappropriate to our place in creation, but also that the question of what may be beyond our experience, dwelt on excessively, distracts us from our more immediate concerns and our actionable gift of life. 2. Questions of whether or not God exists usually devolve to whether or not a God of a certain description exists. Since we may define God as we choose to, everyone else seems to have done so, we may define a God we can believe in, for instance, as the ultimate source of all that is, and, most miraculously, of life, and pretend to know no more. 3. The need to believe in the assured existence of a supernatural God may grow partially out of our traditional lack of appreciation of the universe as our natural God, which is, rightly perceived, really extraordinarily super and, in fact, might have powers we hardly suspect, including ones we might consider supernatural. Its everyday processes are so astounding that they make the miracles of traditional religion seem like relatively modest achievements. Additionally, the desire to believe in a God that acts supernaturally in our everyday lives can undermine our belief in any God, since verifiable supernatural activities do not seem to occur. We live in a world, experience suggests, that behaves in a perfectly natural way. A blessing will explicate. It appears that creation has been wiser than our excessive otherworldly aspirations. Our knowable Supreme Being, the great universe itself, acts in natural ways. Therefore, any supernatural God or gods allow it to do so, at least as we can experience it. 4. Why is what we perceive as the perfectly natural functioning of the universe a blessing? Let's ask if we really want supernatural events to occur. They would be unpredictable interventions that would create a world of pronounced uncertainty. We could never depend on any sort of expected behavior. A catastrophe in terms of, for instance, our ability to plan. Everyday personal and interpersonal life, the very rising and setting of the sun, the behavior of the oceans and weather, and the stability of the known entities on which we base our scientific calculations would all become unpredictably variable. Even more problematic, supernatural activity would disable ethics. Living with unpredictable influences, would we still have freedom of choice? And without it, what is the foundation of moral responsibility?